Hey, everybody. Welcome. So glad to be here with all of you tonight. We're going to have yet another great conversation. Let's go.
Spoken of the American century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be and must be the century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is just a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few.
We now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
We need a government of action.
Welcome, everybody. Hope you're doing well tonight. So I'm here in my lovely Brooklyn apartment. We actually have a friend here tonight. Say hello, Noah.
Hey, everybody.
Hi. Noah is here. He's headed to Russia tomorrow for the World Youth Festival, so he's joining us tonight. He'll be in the background, maybe hop on, say a few words if he feels so moved. We're going to have yet another great late night conversation, just like we always do. Now, the way this works is I give my opening remarks, which is then followed by a roll call. After the roll call, we then have people answering questions. Questions can be sent via Rumble Rants. You can cash at me at CalebMoppin22. But the best way to send me a question is to buy me a coffee. Buy me a coffee. Great way to send your question. You can be anonymous if you want to be. It's great. Buy me a coffee. It's a great way to do things. As far as announcements, join the Center for Political Innovation. We've got a great National Day of Action coming up on October 4th. Information about that to be posted soon. We've just had some great meetings about it. Join CPI, cpiusa.org. Center for Political Innovation is doing great anti-imperialist work. But other than that, we're just doing a normal show tonight. So join the show, send a question, Cash App, CalebMoppin22, buy me a coffee, Rumble Rant. Those are the ways that we take questions. We're going to do the opening remarks, then the roll call, then I'll answer your questions. Now, we are going to do something a little bit different than usual tonight. Every so often I do this. Sometimes people feel like coming on, sometimes not. But we're going to open up the phone lines. Phone lines are open, as they say. So if you want to join the show, you can join the show by coming into the studio. We're going to open the phone lines. But generally, same rules as always. I have to be able to see your face, right? You have to have a webcam. It's working. Obviously, I can remove you at any time. So any funny business, you're out of here. But yeah, we do have open phone lines if you want to hop on and say what you want. I'll even tweet this out. What the heck, why not? And then I'll just start talking about what's on my mind for tonight. And if somebody wants to call in and join the show, feel free. I will just tweet that out. Phones are open. Join the show. If you want to come on and say a few words or tell me what's on your mind. Not saying it'll be a long conversation, but generally it is. We have a good conversation. So, if you want to join the show, that's the link down below. So, the nation is obviously still reacting to the horrendous murder of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was killed, and he was a pro-Trump activist, a young man of only 31 years old. And he was murdered. There's just a sickening political situation in the country where lots of people are celebrating his death, right? Because he was a Trump supporter. That's supposed to be, a good thing, right? According to these people, right? You're supposed to, he was a bad person according to social media. So you're supposed to celebrate his death. Now that's absolutely sickening to me. And yet there are, people even in our circles who think that you should celebrate the death of this person. And I did a stream on Saturday night, kind of a slideshow explaining why I don't agree with that and how the left will target anyone who dares disagree. We talked about that. there's been some new developments that I wanted to reflect on in relation to that. Now, the first development is that Donald Trump today said that he plans to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization. Now, that is legally questionable. First of all, because there is no way to designate a group based in the United States as a terrorist organization. There's a law called the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act. It was passed by Bill Clinton. And under that law, the U.S. State Department, or the executive branch, the president, has the ability to designate organizations as foreign terrorist organizations and FTOs. And then it's illegal for any U.S. citizen to support them. And then they're banned from the banking system. You know, it's like a form of sanctions that can be designated to a country. There's also a way that a government can be designated as a state sponsor of terrorism. And as of now, I believe North Korea, Syria, and Iran are the only state sponsors of terrorism. Libya was that prior to the fall of Gaddafi. And it's a form of sanctions that can be imposed on a country, very heavy sanctions that can be imposed on a country. But there's no legal basis for declaring a U.S.-based organization to be a terrorist group. There's no like special qualification, right? Now, if you commit a crime, they can arrest you for the crime. If they're conspiring to commit a crime, if you're an accessory to a crime, but there's no designation the U.S. government can put on you to call you a terrorist group. In Britain, they do have that designation. That's the Palestine Action. They were declared a terrorist organization. That's a special designation under British law, and they do have the ability. That's why a number of people were arrested for going out and protesting, in support of Palestine Action. They had signs that said, "We support Palestine Action." There's no basis to designate a U.S. organization as a terrorist group. And the second thing is that Antifa, at least officially, is not an organized group. Now, this is where people get fired up and they get upset, and conservatives get upset with me. But I'll point out to you what the reality is. There's no legal organization that's incorporated called Antifa that you can sign up and become a member of. Now, it is true that there is a well-organized effort by certain activist groups that have connections to police and intelligence agencies to target conservatives and others. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that there is a group of conspirators who act, as Antifa. But I'm telling you, there's no legal entity called Antifa. No one has an Antifa membership card. So how, if Antifa were designated a terrorist organization, which there doesn't seem to be a legal basis for Trump to even do, who would that be enforced against? And if the group doesn't exist, do they just declare people to be Antifa? And then it doesn't make any sense, right? Now, Trump has recently taken the move of designating drug cartels as terrorist organizations, as foreign terrorist organizations. I thought that was interesting. I don't agree with the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act because there's no due process. So I don't agree with Trump doing that. But that I saw as a move related to the intelligence agencies. It would make it very difficult for the CIA to fund a drug cartel if it's designated as a terrorist group. Unfortunately, it looks like that is the basis on which Trump has been attacking Venezuelan ships. And now there's been a second ship off the coast of Venezuela that's been targeted. And that's the next item I wanted to talk about, which I thought was important, is that Trump is threatening Venezuela, right? And Venezuela is prepared to defend itself. Their military is ready. There's millions of people locked and loaded, ready to defend itself. And Nicolas Maduro gave a speech basically calling out the government of Trinidad and Tobago, saying that they shouldn't cooperate with the United States against Venezuela. And I want to point out something really important. So at this point, Venezuela is locked and loaded to defend itself. Trump attacked yet another ship. They sunk another Venezuelan vessel they said was carrying drugs. No evidence. It's obviously a provocation. They want Venezuela to respond so then they can have their war. Venezuela is showing restraint. But this was the message that Nicolas Maduro, the leader of Venezuela, gave regarding Trinidad and Tobago and their potential cooperation with the naval buildup off the coast of Venezuela, et cetera. This is Maduro.
Nunca, jamás un gobernante de Trinidad y Tobago se había atrevido a amenazar con una guerra a Venezuela. ¿Quién está detrás? ¿Quién mete la intriga? ¿Quién asusa en el oído de esta señora que no sé bajo los efectos de qué sustancia es capaz de declarar eso? ¿Quién? ¿Quién? ¿Marco Rubio? El señor de la muerte y la guerra lo llaman ahora. Por donde pase hay muerte, hay bombas, hay niños asesinados, Marco Rubio. El señor de la muerte y de la guerra, del odio. Entonces, bueno, Trinidad y Tobago, todos sus sectores sociales, políticos, culturales, económicos y su pueblo tienen que imponer otra vez relaciones de respeto. Así de sencillo. Se tienen que imponer relaciones de respeto.
Now, one thing I have noticed in those recent remarks from Nicolas Maduro, and it fits a pattern, is Nicolas Maduro is not calling out Trump. He's calling out Marco Rubio, which I think is very, very interesting. He's not calling out Trump. He's calling out Marco Rubio, right? Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, Miami Cuban, neoconservative, seems to be the one driving the policy. And Maduro has actually expressed sympathy for Trump on a number of occasions. When Trump faced an attempted assassination, Nicolas Maduro came out and said the same people that are trying to overthrow Venezuela, the same people that killed JFK, tried to kill Trump. And it seems like there's an understanding in Venezuela that Trump is somebody who, to some degree or other, has not a perfect relationship with the regime change apparatus of the United States. Now, they're willing to cooperate with it plenty. They bombed Iran, supporting Israel, etc. But rather than just saying F Trump, it seems like Maduro's strategy is to blame Marco Rubio and try to appeal to the section, or at least people within the Trump administration, who don't favor regime change. And I think that's very, very interesting. And that shows that the Center for Political Innovation and our messaging and our strategy is in line with Venezuela, right? The left have completely lost their minds. And I wanted to talk about that in response to the recent killing of Charlie Kirk. So, I have the slideshow, and it's going to premiere as a standalone video tomorrow, the slideshow that I did on the Charlie Kirk incident. That'll be here on this channel. But, the communist groups have completely lost their minds. And I'll tell you why. There has not been a single statement from the Communist Party USA, from the Workers' World Party, from the Party of Socialism and Liberation. None of those groups have put out a statement saying what used to be just routine, right? The standard killing. I remember I was in the Workers' World Party. When I was in the Workers' World Party, there was a shooting of two NYPD police officers in New York City by a man who apparently was motivated by anger about police brutality, right? It was a black man from North Carolina, drove up to New York City, shot two NYPD officers. And I was the International Action Center's representative. I was representing the Workers' World Party on RT, and we gave a statement saying, we don't support this, right? And that terrorism and adventurism are not going to stop police brutality. You need a mass movement. And we came out and said, look, acts of lone wolf terrorism, et cetera, are not going to stop police brutality. And we said that, we don't know that this man is guilty. And we said the NYPD has created an atmosphere of violence in the streets, and, people may react, but we made clear we didn't support it. That's just the standard response. I believe, when the Weather Underground did its bombings, the Communist Party came out and they said, we don't support the Weather Underground, what they're doing. And in addition to that, the Progressive Labor Party, they put out a pamphlet basically saying that they thought the Weather Underground were police officers or were cops. They put up a pamphlet, who are the bombers? The Workers' World Party put out a pamphlet called As You Sow, So Shall You Reap, saying that the atmosphere of violence and terrorism created by the Vietnam War created the Weather Underground, but they made clear they didn't support this act of terrorism. None of the communist groups will do this. And I am utterly shocked. And it shows that they no longer stand for what they once claimed to stand for. They no longer stand for the principles upon which they claimed to believe. It used to be just standard. When there was a group of Puerto Rican independence activists who tried to kill President Truman, the Communist Party put out a big statement saying, while we do favor Puerto Rican independence, we don't support this. We don't support terrorism. None of the communist groups will do this. Why? Why won't they do it? Because it's so trendy, it's so cool on social media to celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk. They're afraid that they might offend the woke young people they're sucking up to by holding on to this basic principle. And this is what we need to remember. The communist groups in America are not what they once were. They are just, at this point, they are just an appendage of the woke apparatus. They're just an appendage of the Democrat Party. Right? They won't condemn something. It used to be routine. Anytime any kind of adventurism or assassination was carried out, the communist groups, they might say, the person accused of it is innocent until proven guilty. They would always make clear, we don't believe in lone wolf terrorism. We don't believe in left adventurism. We need to build a mass movement. We don't support this. None of the communist groups will do that in response to the killing of Charlie Kirk. That is shocking. It is utterly shocking. It is utterly horrifying. And that right there goes to tell you these groups, if they can't even bring themselves to say maybe shooting a guy in the neck for his views is wrong, right? They can't bring themselves to say that because they are just so desperate to not break with the woke internet. That right there is a total condemnation of these organizations. It is absolutely, you can't, that was routine. That was just routine. The other thing I wanted to mention, right, and while we're at it, right, is that there's a beautiful letter that was written to the workers of Louisiana by Sam Marcy. And I want to post it in the chat. And it was when David Duke, the white supremacist, was running for governor of Louisiana. And Sam Marcy, in 1991, he wrote this beautiful letter urging the workers of Louisiana who might be considering voting for the Democrat Party or voting for David Duke. And he expressed sympathy for why they might think about voting for Duke. But then he said, don't do it, right? Duke is a racist demagogue. It's a beautiful letter. It's a beautifully written letter explaining how, a lot of workers in Louisiana got letters from their employers urging them not to vote for Duke and how that's illegal. Your employer has no right to tell you who not to vote for, and how Duke looks like he's fighting the establishment, and it just, it's a really beautifully written letter, and it's a great letter, right? If you want to hear how a communist would have approached a situation where you have a racist movement or whatever, it's written very carefully and explaining that, black workers are not the enemy. David Duke is dividing the working class, etc. And anyone who was in a communist group today, whether it was the Workers' World Party or the Party for Socialism and Liberation or the Communist Party, would be expelled for writing this kind of letter. They would be kicked out for writing a letter like this today, because you're not allowed to have any sympathy for anyone who might vote for Trump or anyone like Charlie Kirk, right? The class line is completely gone. You're not allowed to have any support or sympathy for quote unquote bad people. Any notion of ideology or class struggle has been cast aside. It's just this progressive fight between good people and bad people. Good people know all the right corporate woke buzz phrases, and bad people are people that, think, believe internet conspiracy theories and, question things, and they need to be gotten rid of. And that is what is believed at this point by the communist groups. John McCarthy in the chat, he says the communists have been radicalized by the Democrat Party. And that's really what has happened, right? The communists used to have a standard line about left adventurism, about terrorism, about, appealing to the workers, but trying to direct them away from racism. And now the communists have been recruited into the anti-free speech, pro-war, pro-censorship, pro-FBI Democrat Party. It's really shocking to watch. None of these communist groups can just get up and say, geez, we didn't like Charlie. We don't know the guy who did it is guilty, but we condemn these kinds of activities. That used to be routine, and none of them will do that. And that is very, very, very shocking. And that should tell you everything you want to know. But I would actually encourage people, if you get a chance, to go actually read the letter to the workers of Louisiana that Sam Marcy wrote. It's very beautiful. And he basically just talks about why racism is not the answer, and why workers in Louisiana must be frustrated with the establishment, why somebody who talks against the establishment like David Duke might be appealing, etc. Another thing I wanted to mention, just to throw this out there, is, I'm absolutely horrified by all the people that are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. I'm absolutely horrified by it. However, there's now a big push to get all the people who are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk fired from their jobs. I don't agree with that, right? People should be able to say stupid things on the internet and not get fired from their jobs. And as much as I think no one should be celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, I don't think you should get fired for doing it either. You shouldn't, right? I mean, it's just, I'm sickened by a lot of what I'm seeing, a lot of the TikTok videos that are floating around and all of this, but I don't think these people should get fired from their jobs. And so I saw that in response to people, I saw this. So now Elon Musk and some of his allies are making a directory of all the people who are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, and they're calling their jobs and trying to get them fired. So then this one liberal commentator is making a directory of everyone who says that George Floyd died of a drug overdose and trying to get them fired from their jobs. I was talking to Noah today. I actually hope that this leads to a situation where employers just stop caring, where employers, they get a phone call, your employee posted this on the internet, and employers just say, I don't care, and they hang up, right? No one should get fired from their job for saying something stupid, true, false, or anywhere in between. I generally, don't think people should lose their jobs for talking politically on the internet. And as much as I'm not happy and I'm sickened by people cheering for the death of Charlie Kirk, and I agree that the idea that he should be killed for his speech is horrifying. I also don't agree that these people that are dumb enough to say that and are toxic and antisocial enough to say that, I don't think they should get fired from their jobs either, right? And that's the whole point, right? I mean, if I don't want people to be shot in the neck for having bad opinions, I don't want people to be fired from their jobs for having bad opinions. I think that in the land of the free and the home of the brave, you should be able to think what you want. I mean, that's kind of the idea. Even if people on the internet say you're bad because of what you think, you should still have gainful employment. Like, that's what I hope. And I just hope that this whole situation leads to everyone realizing that, we stop calling people's employers, stop doxing people for their political views. The other thing I wanted to add is, so there's this woman in Texas, Cameron Giselle Booker, a young African-American woman. And when some of the people from Turning Points USA were out mourning the death of Charlie Kirk, she danced around taunting them, shot your homie dead, shot him in the neck. It's a horrifying clip, right? It's horrifying that she's doing that, but she's trying to be offensive. She's being a bully, basically, right? It's like, oh, you're sad about somebody dying, I'm being a bully, right? And, and so they videoed it, and now it's out there. And now she's been arrested. And she's arrested on 3 counts of assault. Well, I don't know that she assaulted anybody. I guess there's one clip where she kind of knocks the hat off of one of the people. And I mean, she shouldn't be assaulting anybody. I mean, if she really assaulted somebody, that's an arrestable offense. But the governor of Texas tweets out a picture of her in handcuffs and says, oh, she picked the wrong state to celebrate the death of Charlie. Can we stop this, please? Right? I would like us to get back to the point where we have civil debate and nobody's getting shot and no one's getting fired from their job and no one's getting arrested for saying something stupid. Right? I mean, let's just, and I just, I mean, if she actually assaulted somebody, that's different, right? If she actually punched somebody or touched somebody against their will, that's a different thing. And I don't know the details of the 3 allegations of assault, but the governor of Texas is basically saying we arrested her because she, taunted these people. And it's like, well, if she wants to be stupid enough to be crass and mean-spirited like that, she has the right to do it. And Penny's right in what she's saying about you have the right to be an asshole, right? This is America, right? And the anti-Zionist movement is the same thing. They want you to lose your job for being anti-Israel and all of that. Phil is waiting in the chat, so we'll bring Phil in. Remember, it's an open phones show. People are able to join. We'll bring Phil in. I do have some more things I want to add in my opening remarks here. But yeah, hey, Phil, what's happening?
Hey, Caleb, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in. I just wanted to say, I think this is only one of the very few times that I disagree with you.
Okay.
Anyone who goes about taunting a person who was shot and killed, because of his political beliefs, number one, should be designated as a person sponsoring terrorism. Mm-hmm. And thereby, if they don't apologize for it, they should be arrested. I mean, it in a way, my opinion is that it's an act of domestic terrorism, not international terrorism, but domestic terrorism.
Like saying that you're happy that someone was killed.
Well, I mean, if you're making speech that can be used as a motivation for somebody to go out and commit more killing based on political beliefs, then you should be arrested.
Okay, well,
I mean,
but hypothetically speaking, let's say like I made a video criticizing Israel, right? And I just said Israel's doing these bad things. And so somebody saw that and they said, oh, well, I'm going to go commit terrorism against Israelis. Should I be arrested?
Again, depending, it would have to be investigated, and depending, upon the type of speech, or the type of motivation behind it. I mean, if the person just says, oh, I saw Caleb Maupin, on YouTube, criticizing Israel, then no,
Okay.
but if you, let's say they say that, well, this is the reasoning behind it, and I made the choice because of this video, or because of the specific type of speech involved in that video, then I mean, there should be some kind of consequence for that.
Well, like threats, right? Threats are illegal generally. You can't call somebody up and say, I'm going to do blank, 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 or if you don't do blank, 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 I will do that. You know what I mean? That you can't do. That's called criminal menacing. That's a threat. Also, advocating illegal activities. If you make a video and say somebody should, and if it's against a specific person, right? That is also illegal, right? We do have U.S. law is very, very weird. In 1967, there was a Supreme Court ruling where it was Charles Brandenburg versus Ohio. I learned about this court case in 1967. The Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan of Ohio bought time on local TV, and he gave a broadcast, and he called for acts of revengeance against members of Congress for the Civil Rights Act. And he was arrested because you're calling for violence against government officials, right? But his law team went to the Supreme Court, all the way up to the Supreme Court, and he said, look, he didn't say what they should do, right? He didn't specify any specific act. He just said acts of revengeance, which is not proper English, but, it's KKK, guys. So what do you think, right? It's not English is not, proper English is not what they do. And then the other thing is he didn't name a specific member of Congress. He just said, it was a vague thing. So the Supreme Court actually ruled, and his sentence was overturned. And they said that's legally protected speech. Now, I don't know any other country in the world where you can call for acts of revengeance against members of the government and not go to jail. That's generally, if you get on television and are calling for violence against elected officials, violence against the government, you go to jail in almost all countries in the world. But in America in 1967, the Supreme Court said you can do that. But since 9/11, there have been terrorism cases where people have, they've express support for terrorist attacks, right? And that's deemed as support, so there have been cases with Muslims where they have done much less than what Charles Brandenburg did, right? But free speech in America is one of our values that we really hold on to, but we are constantly moving the goalpost about what free speech actually means, right? And
well, that's what I was trying to get to. I mean, if you're going about, like this lady in Texas that you were talking about, you're going about and taunting, people who are mourning, Charlie Kirk's death, that's actually, a violation, of whoever's mourning, Charlie Kirk's death, civil rights. I mean,
nasty, hateful thing to do. I mean, it was really horrifying to watch her in the video. I don't know. Did you see the video of her jumping around and all of that?
No, I haven't. This is actually the first time I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, well, it's a really mean, nasty. She's really insensitive, and she's just, being really, really not nice. I mean, that's pretty clear. But I don't know that that's criminal. I think one is allowed to be a jerk, I mean, that's part of free speech. But then the charge, though, is assault. So if she actually touched one of them that's a crime, right? You can't touch anyone against their will. So if she hit one of them, or if she even just touched them against their will, that's assault. And that appears to be what she's been charged with. So they're going to have to prove in court, or at least have substantial evidence that she actually assaulted somebody. But I'm not sure I agree with you, Phil, that I think, unfortunately, the sad part of free speech is one can be a mean, nasty, rude person, right? I mean, that's how it works. I mean, but we can agree to disagree, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And just the other thing I want to say, I 175% am in agreement with President Maduro, that Marco Rubio, is the one kind of, pushing President Trump, to act against Venezuela.
Right.
I remember a while back you had done a video where you had said it was looking like President Trump actually wanted to try and make peace with Venezuela.
Yeah.
I mean, and, it, like you were saying, it's a push and pull. Politics can be not so nice sometimes, and I mean, I think President Trump is kind of caught in a corner.
He doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, that's what's clear to me, and that's why I suspect there was a wider conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk. I have my questions about whether the shooter that they're blaming, because the thing is, the White House is so flexible, right, that they could go either way. And if, like, someone like Charlie Kirk, his opinion could sway whether or not we have a war with Venezuela, or whether or not, I mean, he apparently went to Trump and said, don't bomb Iran, right? So he's somebody who had a lot of influence. And that's what makes me think that there's a lot riding on what the U.S. government might do or might not do. And that makes me think that there could be a wider conspiracy, and that there's this, Gray Zone is saying they believe Israel is responsible, and Candace Owens and others are saying that he was changing his opinion about Israel. I mean, I tend to think that Gray Zone knows what they're talking about. They're very, very credible. I really find that hard to believe, because Charlie was so pro-Israel. There's so many clips of him just being really, really pro-Israel. So I find that hard to swallow, but I don't think Gray Zone would make that up, and I don't think Candace Owens would make that up. So it's possible. And the other thing, there's another theory floating around. I can't remember what it is, but I mean, it's certainly interesting. And yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to see, but yeah, Nicolas Maduro is not saying F Trump. He's not saying that. He's saying, Trump, don't listen to Marco Rubio. And I think that's the correct approach. Right. And that we should be supporting Tulsi Gabbard right now. Yeah. And stripping
Rubio is very anti-socialism. He hates Cuba. I mean, vehemently hates Cuba. And then, also he's a very long-term, far right neoconservative. Yeah. I mean, that I don't have proof of this, but I believe he's had some dealings in a lot of the regime change apparatus.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's his whole career. Yeah. I mean, that's where he's been. So yeah. And so I agree that we should follow Maduro's strategy and support Tulsi Gabbard in stripping the neocons of their security clearances, opposing the Russiagate narrative, and that we shouldn't make the White House the enemy. And that's my approach, right? And I think, again, October 4th, I know you're going to be with us in New York City. We're going to be in the streets. Thank you, Tulsi, for standing up to the neocons, right? Arrest John Bolton, and peace with Russia. Continue the peace talks. So
very, very definitely. Good. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I actually made a morning message a while back, about supporting, the meeting between President Trump and President Putin, when they had their meeting in Alaska, which the first part was very, very much saying we need to get out and support Tulsi Gabbard, because, she's the only, right now at least, she's the only person from the intelligence community that I think has our backs, I mean, and is saying we're not going to get into any more regime change wars. The United States needs to keep its nose out of other foreign governments' business.
I agree.
I mean, too many people have, too many of our military, have died for needless reasons.
Yeah.
And there have been political figures, I won't say who, but there have been various political figures who have lied, flat out lied to the American people about, oh, well, this is what happened, so we're going after them. And unfortunately, I was a very big supporter, of the first and the second Gulf War, because they lied to me, number one, and all of my life, I was raised and taught to believe America, if our government officials say this is why we're going after them, that they've attacked America or they've done something wrong to one of our allies, that's why we're going after them. And a lot of times that's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, and, since I've joined, CPI, I have learned a lot. And, I mean, if you really want to know what's going on, with politics and our government, and what kind of goes on behind the scenes, join CPI.
Well, thank you.
I did, and it made a total difference.
Well, we're really glad to have you. We're really glad to have you. And thank you, Phil. We got Gavin right behind you. So thanks for coming on.
Hi, Gavin.
Yep. All right, Gavin, how you doing?
Oh, we caught him chewing.
Good. It's good to see everybody.
Very good. You have a .com? I didn't know you had a .com.
I do now. I resurrected an old blog, so maybe I'll start posting there.
Okay, I'm gonna go to it. I didn't know. Go on. Say what you want to say. I'm sorry. I didn't know you had a.
I just wanted to remind people of the old quote from Claude Coburn, where he said, "Never believe a story until it's been officially denied." And there was a shooting back a few months ago or maybe a year ago where the shooting suspect actually was the shooter actually was, I'll say alleged because I don't remember the details. The alleged shooter actually was some transgender leftist. Right. But this time, now that they're trying to blame some gay leftist or transgender leftist, I'm skeptical of that. We shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? We should always be skeptical of what the media is currently saying. So that's just my comment briefly.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I guess he's like he lives with a transgender leftist, and some people are saying that they think the story is hokey because it just seems too surface level. You know what I mean? It seems too perfect, right? And he wrote I'm going to kill Charlie Kirk or something like that, and it's wait a second, and
they're claiming he's in the DSA or something, right?
Yeah, and the whole thing is very, very odd. And then it's he was a Trump supporter, but then he started dating this trans person or something. The whole thing, people are asking questions, and he's confessed. He's just saying over and over again he did it. He went to Discord and he posted, "I'm the one who did it" on Discord. Really? Something's off, and he got away. That's the other thing, right? Usually, if the person is trying to get caught, they get caught right there at the scene, right? And so he got away, and then he's on Discord saying, "I did it." I mean, and he's so good, he can get there with his gun and pull it off. And then he gets on the internet and says, "Just so you folks know, I did it." If he was going to turn himself in, wouldn't he have turned himself in right there? I mean, I don't know. So I don't get it. Something doesn't add up. So, but that's all you wanted to say?
Well, I mean, I'm not a gun expert, but I'm skeptical that, an amateur could go on a roof unnoticed and make this from over 200 yards away. And the whole thing is weird. But what did you want to talk about? Because I just basically wanted to say, yeah, when the media is trying to promote, oh, this is who did it, we should be skeptical.
Yeah, well, my attitude is that all these people that are celebrating it, it's sickening that they're doing it. And a lot of them it's they don't understand this is real. This is a real guy who died. This has real implications, and that I'm somebody who has been so badly canceled. I've been the target of it. And I've been there's random people on the street who've harassed me before. And I've said, actually, I don't want to kill all gay people. I have really good gay friends. And well, I heard on the internet that you're bad. And it's well, no, my name is Caleb. I'm a real person. Okay. And just because, and it's like these people, they don't understand that the people they're canceling and smearing are real people, and they don't know anything about them. They just know they're supposed to hate them this week, and it's really, really terrifying. And that's why I'm sickened by the idea that these people think it's okay to kill this guy because of what he said, because it's like they think it's a movie. They think he's just the bad guy in a movie, and they don't understand that, like, even if he did say all these awful things, this is America. He has the right to say that, and him saying it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a really awful article from Common Dreams, which is good on Palestine, but not on much else in terms of foreign policy. And I just wanted to say a few things here. Let me pull it up. And so they're not literally celebrating or justifying the shooting, but what happens is they dig up things out of context to kind of make Charlie Kirk look as bad as possible. And I feel like there's people doing that. There's a lot of people that are not literally celebrating, but they almost are. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so for example, so they ran this. So one thing, Caleb, like Common Dreams ran this horrible article. You know, they've been horrible since 2011 with the Libya stuff, but they just a second here while it loads. They ran this horrible article with multiple falsehoods where they claim that Trump never condemned the shooting of Melissa Hortman, that Minnesota politician. That's false. He immediately condemned it. Obviously, you know, his statement wasn't as fancy as his statement for Charlie Kirk. They rolled out the trope of very fine people on both sides, which, you know, Trump was actually talking about the people who wanted to pull down the statue.
Right. It was fine people on both sides of the argument about the monument. It wasn't.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the article somewhat demonized Nancy Mace, who is kind of similar to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. She's one of the only U.S. reps who consistently voted against all aid to Israel and Ukraine. And so that's just what I wanted to say about that the leftist media is not, you know, trustworthy on this. They are semi-echoing the cheers.
Well, we were both in Workers' World at one point. Why haven't they put out a statement like they used to do and said, you know, we don't like Charlie Kirk, we don't know this person's guilty, but we don't agree with assassinations? Like, why can't they just do that? And PSL hasn't done it. Communist Party USA hasn't done it. None of these groups can just say, we don't agree with assassinations. Like, isn't this insane?
Living in the Twilight Zone right now.
I know. I mean, that was routine when the Puerto Rican separatists, you know, they tried to kill Truman. The CPUSA came out and said, well, we want Puerto Rican to be independent. We don't agree with this. Like, that's just what you do when something like this happens. But they're so scared that they might offend these woke kids. I mean, the wokeification of the communist groups, you know, I observed it. And it was just, you couldn't, if you had any like real principles of anti-imperialism, if you were at all interested in economics, you were pushed out, and they just became like, they're trying to get a piece of the George Soros action, basically, trying to get a piece of internet wokeness. It's really scary to see what they've become, where you're just not allowed, you know, that none of them have the courage to just say assassination is wrong. Like, I mean, how hard is that, right? I mean, you don't have to say anything good. You don't even have to say that he didn't deserve it. You just have to say, we don't agree with this. That used to be just routine behavior from any communist group. And it was an act of security to do that, right? It was to make clear that the government couldn't blame you for it. They almost want the government to blame them for it because the woke kids think it's so cool, right? You know, I mean, it's sick. It's really, really sick.
Yeah, and I would go a little bit further. I think that when someone dies, when a human life passes away, you find something nice to say, or you don't say anything at all. And, you know, it's, you know, if you're going to critique somebody, if you're going to like mildly critique someone in their obituary, you have to be very careful about it, because I was offended, and I'm sure you were very offended, Caleb. I never met her. I know you met her a little bit, but there were a lot of leftist and Trotskyist obituaries for Leslie Feinberg. For Leslie Feinberg, that basically lamented how terrible it was that she was in this Stalinist cult, so-called.
Really? And I didn't see those. Wow.
And I think that I mean, again, I didn't know her personally, but I was offended. It's like, I wouldn't want, like, you know, it's not right to insult somebody's life choices in their obituary.
Right. That's very interesting. Is there anything else you want to add before I go to Penny, who's right behind you?
No, let's hear from Penny. That sounds great.
Well, thanks, Gavin. And I'll check out your blog. I didn't know you had one. So there you go. All right. Penny, how you doing?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can. Yes. Very good.
Yeah. So, like all this internet drama, I'm like not in that world.
Good.
I work, and the people I work with, most of them, except for the one person that you met at the Mall of America,
Yeah.
they're not into all the drama. We're just there to work, you know.
Yeah.
And the only person that my manager at American Eagle, she's a conservative, and she, you know, she likes to hear what we're doing and kind of hear about it. And then the friend that you know takes a lot of liberal positions, but she's willing to have dialogue, you know. But I like to interact with customers because I can like drop things. Like today, a customer was going to fly to Alaska because her mom lives in Alaska. So I started talking about the Peace Bridge. And I said, you know, ask your mom about the Peace Bridge when you get there. And I told her how important it was and how it's been going on. The idea has been floating around since Lincoln, and how we need to connect with the economy in the rising East instead of all these wars. And she's like, yeah. So it had nothing to do with liking or hating Trump. It was about our economy and connecting an American economy. So it's good that we have this independent view that's not team sports. It's, you know, what's best for the world.
Right. And we're not just chasing after whatever the latest trendy thing is. We have certain things we believe in that we're going to push, right? We're not just, you know, oh, this is popular, talk about this. Oh, this is popular, let's talk about this. Like, yeah, we will comment on current events and stuff, but we have our own agenda. We have our 4-point plan, you know, and we're pushing our own stuff, you know? That's important. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like to watch the freelancia videos when Putin or whatever Russia is talking, and they have it going in both languages. And Putin was talking about at the cultural thing, I put it in the chat, but how culture is passed down through the generations, and we need to preserve that, you know, and that's why the family is so important, is to continue passing down traditions and protect that. And even in small cities, he wants to protect culture in small cities, but yet bring in the new and harmonize with the world through cooperation. And it was in the Catherine Hall or something, where this beautiful hall that was created with many different types of people working together to create that beautiful architecture. So that's what I want to say. I'm not into the inner drama. I'm not on TikTok. I live in the real world. So
there you go. People we see us protesting, they shout, "Get a job!" So you got a job. So I'm just kidding. Yeah, right? You're in the real world. But there you go. Well, thank you, Penny. Well, it's great to come on, and yeah, we have our own agenda, and that's really great that you know the people were open to the Peace Bridge and all of that. And yeah, it's great. I know you're doing the Khrushchevism reading group, and you're planning to do an action on October 4th, and yeah.
My mom and my son are gonna do it with me on the 1st. Okay. And then the 4th, we're going to have Tom and some others, whoever comes along. But it's cool. My son is willing to help, you know, so that's cool. He doesn't understand, but, you know, if I can get him involved a little bit, that's a start, you know. All right. So thank you for letting me come on.
Oh, cool. Of course. All right. So now Unanimous is in the chat, and he always has really good questions. So we're definitely going to bring you on, Unanimous. But the chat right now is asking for Noah's opinion. So Noah, if you want to give your opinion, if you want to like hop into the shot,
my opinion on what?
I don't know, the Charlie Kirk, and I don't know, say anything about it, and then we'll bring Unanimous on.
Yeah, sure. I guess
you want to get in the video here.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're
It's okay.
Yeah.
We here?
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
So yeah, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's a horrible thing. A human being was gunned down in broad daylight, and that speaks to a very toxic political culture that we have in the United States, where people get into this triggered mindset, I guess you could say. You know, people are not hearing each other. They are reliving their past traumas. And one thing is, when you're traumatized, you're not thinking. When you're traumatized, you're not thinking, and I see that a lot with a lot of the conservative reaction, even to Charlie Kirk being killed, because they saw something horrible that happened. Somebody was killed. Somebody was shot in the neck in a very brutal way in public, and they're not thinking clearly. And so you'll hear calls. Trump retweeted a statement about how he agrees that we should monitor misinformation on the internet because misinformation killed Charlie Kirk. It's like, well, what does misinformation even mean? It's not really a left-right thing. It's a very toxic political culture we have. Another thing I'd like to comment on is hate speech and hate speech laws. Obviously, it's horrible that people are celebrating the death of a human being on the internet. This was a person with a family. This was a person who, had loved ones who cared for them and who, took some good positions. I mean, we agree with him that obviously Russia is right in the Ukraine conflict, and that we shouldn't be sending arms to, far right Nazis in Ukraine. I don't remember the point I was making.
You said, well, it's horrible that this
happened. And hate speech.
Hate speech, yeah.
So like that. So it's obviously really offensive that somebody would say something like that. And it's very similar to the justification behind hate speech laws in Europe. And those have been disastrous. I mean, obviously it's extremely offensive. It's just as offensive to a person of color, for example, if you were to come up to them and start calling them a racial slur or inciting violence or racial hatred. That's obviously something that's horrible. That's something that, we as a society do not approve of. The reality of the situation is that free speech does not exist so that you can say that you really like apple pie and you love your mom. It exists so that people can say things that are not in line with the mainstream. And unfortunately, that means you do have to tolerate stuff that is deplorable. And we don't want to have a situation where all of a sudden we are equating support for countries that the United States doesn't like, support for the Palestinian people, support for the Russian people, with disgusting behavior that people are having on the internet. We need to be really, really careful about not letting ourselves get hyped up psychologically into this mode that, again, leftists, this was the mindset that killed Charlie Kirk. They were traumatized, they weren't thinking clearly, and they murdered somebody. Although I do have my questions, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't line up. So that's my opinion.
All right. Well, thank you, Noah. Thank you, Noah, and good luck on your upcoming trip. Yeah. All right. So now, shout out to Terry Strange, who's in the chat. Terry is a longtime friend. I just saw she was going through Portland, actually, where the anti-natalists actually set up a booth urging people not to have children. It was really, really crazy. Your enemy is inside you, not in other people. I hope you come on, Terry. I'd love to have you on. You're a beloved member of the CPI Caleb Maupin chat community. But next, we're going to bring on Unanimous. How you doing?
Hey, good. Very insightful commentary from Noah. I had a few counselors in school tell me the same thing. Like, when you have strong emotions, sadness, anger, like, you won't think clearly, you won't be coherent, you'll do things you don't agree with. I don't know if you can hear me, but good luck in Russia. Good luck in Russia.
Thank you, Unanimous. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, that being said, regarding the Kirk assassination, I think people should realize, like, Kirk was very tied in with the neocons and whatnot, but you have to realize people worse than Charlie have much to gain from his assassination.
Okay.
And this is beyond, like, Israel, the neocons and whatnot. This is also, there are definitely less moderate conservative voices who have said, oh, people are going to start joining me. Mr. Fuentes is one. Oh, and that's something I don't think, like, these people realize.
Right.
Like,
so, yeah, I noticed that. Right. So Nick Fuentes apparently said, like, prior to that we're all going to target Charlie Kirk. He's the main threat or something like that. He said that. right? And so then now his line is, he says that Israel killed Charlie Kirk and they're going to frame his community for it. And it's very odd because he hated Charlie Kirk. His people would go to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying like a lot of people are moving. A lot of people feel like the conservative Gen Z, my generation, that we're looking at Charlie Kirk as an alternative. They'll move toward more towards worse off spaces. Like they'll move towards actual white supremacist bloggers, and I don't think the PSL understands like Kirk or not. Hell, I don't. That's a real danger. Like, like people worse than Kirk benefit from his death.
I find it really shocking that PSL and Communist Party USA and Workers World, none of them can just put out a statement saying that this was wrong. I know even the RCP hasn't put out. They put out a statement. They were the one group after the murder of Brian Thompson by Luigi Mangione. They put out a statement saying they didn't support that and that we shouldn't be glorifying assassinations. But yet they haven't said anything about Charlie Kirk. And if you look at Bob Avakian's Twitter, there's like, it looks almost like a mild support for it. I mean, it's carefully worded, but it's like, I'll read you what's on Bob Avakian's Twitter page right now. And I was shocked because it's like, and I was reading this and I'm like, is this what I think it is? It's not exactly. But the official Bob Avakian account, the top tweet is, play by the rules and lose, succumbing to a fascist horror far beyond even the worst of today, or do what needs to be done to drive out the regime.
Is neocon not a bad word these days? I don't know. I've heard people call Charlie a fascist, but no one called him a neocon.
Well, and the other thing is, like, it sounds like Bob Avakian is saying play by the rules and lose, like almost like illegal things like assassinations might be like that's what that sounds like to me. Right. And it's like, wait a second, after, Luigi Mangione allegedly killed Brian Thompson, they came out and said they don't believe in lone wolf assassinations. But now even the RCP that was like kind of the voice of common sense after the Luigi Mangione thing, they can't even, like, what in the world is going on? Like, every leftist has gotten the orders, you must support the murder of Charlie Kirk. This is insane. Right. And it's completely crazy. And it's like, how do you counter these people? Right. I have thought in the past that we need to actually like confront these groups about it, but you can't. Like, for example, in New York City, the big PSL controlled building is the People's Forum. If you were to protest outside the People's Forum and be like, why is this group promoting violence? You know what people would think? They'll think you're Zionists because PSL runs Palestine protests and the pro-Israel people call.
And they're pro-China. They more or less.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they get you.
Yeah. People would just see this.
I was looking at old Workers World stuff regarding Russia and China. It's interesting, like they'll bring up something similar to this one pro-Ukrainian YouTuber. They say Putin supported Marine Le Pen's thing. And this is the interesting thing now. Yeah. I've been kind of looking back at how the U.S. approached other economic adversaries in the past. I think in the past 100 years, we had Germany, we had Japan, and we have the Soviet Union. Now, Japan and Germany, I think we more or less annexed large portions of their economies. We were able to basically have them on our strings, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And the Soviet Union, I've heard, like, I did hear someone who was pro-China say that the Soviet devotion to their like ideological support, like they were putting a lot of money towards communist groups in Africa and Asia, Latin America, like that kind of kept them away from large parts of the global economy. And that is interesting because didn't Mao criticize Khrushchev for like supposedly cutting all these people off?
Yeah, I'll answer this question. I mean, it was, well, first of all, the main reason they weren't competitors is they had Commie-Con. They were just not part of the same economy. Like there was just like you couldn't trade with them, right? I mean, you couldn't, it was like to trade with the Soviet bloc was very limited. They had like a whole alternative, Yugoslavia traded with the West, China started trading with the West in the late 70s, but largely they were just completely like walled off, right? They
were still trading with a lot of the developing world, like they traded with Africa, they traded with Latin America, and whatnot. And that was And like they put a lot of money into India and Bangladesh.
Right, that is true. But so, Khrushchev was like toning down the support for armed groups around the world. And then, Khrushchev was ousted in 1964, and you had Kosygin and Brezhnev that took power. And then after that, after Kosygin and Brezhnev, you had Czechoslovakia, where the USA tried to overthrow the government of Czechoslovakia in 1968, right, with the Prague Spring. The Soviet Union.
Didn't they just put in this one guy, Dubček, who was...
Yeah, it was U.S. backed. He was seen as a transitional figure. He cut off support to Vietnam. He diplomatically recognized Israel, and he was there to transition Czechoslovakia into like being an anti-Soviet country. The Soviet Union went into Czechoslovakia and put the pro-Soviet wing of the party back in. China condemned them for that. And then in 1969 in Angola, right? In Angola, the MPLA were the main, like the Soviet-backed, they were the main anti-Portuguese fighters. China started funding Maoists that were fighting against the MPLA, and apparently were working with the CIA against the MPLA. And by about 1970, China was kind of on the side of the United States. They said that, Soviet social imperialism, they called it, was the main threat. So, and then the Soviet Union kind of amped up its support for various, and Cuba kind of became the superstars. And it was weird because the Soviet Union,
Cuba and North Korea.
Yeah, the Soviet line was much more diplomatic or whatever, but at the same time, Libya was like, Libya was, giving the Soviet Union oil or selling oil and like buying guns from the Soviet Union and sending them. And there was, the Soviet camp had like two wings. You had like the Eastern Bloc and the Soviet Union. They were pushing kind of a moderate line. And then you had, on the other hand, you had like the third world anti-colonial groups, like what was called the Tricontinental Congress, that was Soviet backed, but it was more radical. And like Cuba, Libya, North Korea, the government of Ethiopia, the Derg, those governments were like the radical wing of the Soviet camp. All right. So Terry Strange has been patiently waiting. Thank you, Unanimous, for coming on. Terry, how you doing? You're muted.
I'm sorry. Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you. I saw your video from downtown Portland with the anti-natalists.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Yeah, since you mentioned it, I thought I'd pop on. Yeah. Disturbing. And I guess I didn't used to think it was so disturbing, but now kind of have new eyes. I just, how do you get to a point where you think that the issue is human beings? That we're the economic and environmental threat to the world. Like, how do you get turned against your own humanity so much? It's sick.
What I'm curious about, what were they asking people to do?
Well, to sterilize themselves or to not have children.
Yeah, because they're already doing that. Like, right? Like, especially, like younger white Americans are already not having children, right?
Yeah.
Do we go further with it? Like, I don't know. I just find it to be a very, very strange, a very, very strange like thing to be doing. And it was in the name of environmentalism. That's what their booth was saying.
That's a large part of it. I didn't go into their tent because I didn't want to get roped into having a conversation, because I'm just kind of at the point where I just don't want to be around that too much. But yeah, the crux, that's kind of their angle. And then they also had like vasectomies prevent abortion. So they're taking that angle as well. So I don't know if that's like a pro-abortion or anti-abortion take exactly. So I'm sure they're bringing in all kinds of people with their weird stuff. So if somebody was like, I don't know, concerned about any number of issues, they could get drawn into that tent,
Interesting. And DSA was set up a couple tables away, right? Any other political groups that stood out?
I didn't see anyone else, but that was like in the heart of the square, which was a little wild.
Yeah.
They did have I didn't see any other groups now that I think about it.
Well, what's crazy is Karl Marx spent a huge amount of his career arguing against Malthusianism, right? He wrote a whole book called Theories of Surplus Value, debunking the Malthusian concept of overpopulation. Human labor power creates value. So if you have more people, you will have more wealth. The idea that human beings are the cause of economic crisis, that it's predicated on this notion of non-productive consumers or useless eaters, right? That there's people that just consume and they don't produce, and that's not true, right? The capitalism does have this problem of overproduction where people don't have the wages to buy back what they produce. But the idea that just too many people is going to cause economic crisis, that's not actually true, right? And then there's the Club of Rome, right? And they've come out with, there's a book that was published called The Limits to Growth. And it said that we were going to run out of oil by 1990, and we were going to run out of,
oil.
Yeah, we were going to run out of copper around the same time and all of that. And if we were still extracting oil in the same way we did in 1970, we would have definitely run out of oil. But we invented deep sea drilling. We invented hydraulic fracking. We discovered new reserves in different places. And we're not going to run out of oil for at least 70 years, right? And who's to say we won't discover even new ways after that? Like it's completely absurd. And that it's been pointed out that like if we were still burning wood or charcoal, that's what in Haiti, people heat their homes with charcoal, we would have deforested the planet 3 or 4 times over, right? But we don't burn wood to heat our homes. We invented burning coal. We burn other fossil fuels. We have electricity. Like human beings invent new ways to interact with their environment, right? And, if you assume that we're always going to be interacting with our environment the same way, okay, we're just going to run out of the resources. But throughout our history, we use different resources, right? And then what's also weird is it used to be environmentalists were the biggest supporters of nuclear power, right? And then big oil started funding environmentalists to oppose nuclear power. So, yeah. There's something else going on.
It's just endless.
Do you have a sore throat or?
Huh?
Do you have a sore throat?
I do have a sore throat, yeah. I keep coughing, that's why I keep muting, but I don't know. It just made me sad. And then I did see the DSA did have a big sign in front of them that said eco-socialist, which also alarmed me because I was like, I'm so used to in the Pacific Northwest being exposed to and around people that are like part of the green anarchist perspective. And so this is just like a slightly, I don't know, just it's disturbing to me that this would even get, these kind of ideas would even get into like mainstream leftists.
Yeah, it's sad
to them as well, because I'm like, okay, here.
Yeah. And it's like historical progress, belief in humans' ability to reinvent their relationship with nature, and higher modes of technology to go with higher modes of production. Like all of that's been lost. It's like they think socialism is wealth is bad, right? And so eco-socialism is we're going to have no wealth and we'll be at peace with Mother Earth, and that's socialism. And it's just like that's just not.
No, I mean the primitive, very, very primitive form of socialism, I guess. They want to go back to humans being completely animalistic, I suppose. That's what it's like. And then when you think about all the like social rot within these organizations too, and the lack of like respect for institutions like the family, or like the both of the people there, I don't want to be disrespectful, but they were both visibly queer coded, and I'm just thinking about like, okay, so you're against civilization, you're against like family, you're against reproduction, like what's the how do we get here where like these anti-humanity, anti kind of like life and growth and wealth and prosperity, how do people get so turned against this, especially when you look at people and when you think about all the blessings they have in their life of modern technology you know, that they wouldn't want to be without. I'm sure they wouldn't want to be without like hot showers and electricity.
Yeah,
know,
they're just kind of politically giving voice to their own antisocial tendencies. It's almost like not serious.
Yeah, I know. That's what it's, yeah, it does come across that way. And I think that's a real problem with, I don't know, just our culture. And it isn't just on the left, actually, too. I guess I wanted to get on and say that, too, because I've noticed with Charlie Kirk's assassination, like, there's this antisocial element coming out on the left, and people like celebrating and acting like ghoulish. And then there's also, though, like the kind of behavior on the right where like they're seeking to like silence and punish the same way that like leftists would come for them. And then also acting as if this isn't like the same behavior isn't visible like on both sides, because I've definitely seen right wingers like celebrate other people's deaths, or like
totally
when a woman in like Western Europe gets like assaulted by, let's say, a migrant, you know, from Africa or like Middle East, they're like, this is what she voted for, you know, all gleeful about it when it's like a tragedy. So this propensity in the human heart to lean to be evil and to see your enemy outside of yourself instead of within yourself is like, I think, a big part of this spiritual rot and the antisocial behavior. Like people's just, it's running wild.
Well, thank you for hopping on, Terry.
Yeah,
I do appreciate it. You always have great insights. You're a great friend of this channel going back many years. So all my best. Is that your new husband walking around behind you?
Yes, that's
well.
James.
Congratulations on the marriage. I hope it was a great wedding, and I hope that all is well in Portland. So shout out to you, and dare to struggle, dare to win.
Farewell.
Yep. All right. This guy Ali has been waiting a long time. Ali, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Caleb? How you doing?
You're a billionaire.
Yeah, I hope so. No, in China, yeah, why not, man? It's allowed.
All right. Yeah. So what's new, Ali? What's on your mind?
Yeah, this Charlie Kirk thing, man, it messed me up. I saw like all these people celebrating it, and I don't know, man. I don't want to moralize to people, but I feel like it kind of comes with that type of antisocial behavior. It kind of comes with like not having God in your life. I really do believe that.
Okay.
Like, I think if you're truly conscious of God and, the consequences out in the world, I don't think you'll celebrate this stuff, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know. When you see that video, like you see the real video, I don't know how you can celebrate that.
Yeah, it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. Are you a Muslim?
Yeah.
Well, your name's Ali, so I figured.
Yeah, I'm a Shia Muslim. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Very good. And I'd be curious. I know, martyrdom is something in the Shia tradition that's very, very important, right? I mean, it's important in all religions, really.
Yeah.
Christianity, Jesus called for martyrdom of his followers and stuff, but I know in the Shia tradition, it's particularly important, right? That the imams gave their lives for the faith and all of that. Can you share some wisdom about that, or?
Yeah, absolutely. The primary example of martyrdom would obviously be Imam Hussein. I'm pretty sure, when you went to Iran, they probably told you all about it, right? He fought against the Umayyad Caliph Yazid, right? And what Yazid was doing was he was essentially oppressing the people in the Arab Peninsula at the time. And essentially, Imam Hussein, he fought for these people's rights and the freedoms. And for us, it's always very important to fight against oppressors, right? As you see in Iran, it's basically like liberation theology is very like embedded into it. And, especially through the Iran and Iraq war. I mean, I'm Pakistani, but, we all learn all about it, right? So,
yeah.
But, you see in the Iran and Iraq war, they're using Saddam's forces, they're using chemical weapons, all this stuff against them, and to see the resilience that came out of it. Look at the current leadership in Iran, right? Ali Khamenei, he was like surviving these chemical weapons attacks and stuff.
Yeah.
Qasem Soleimani as well, rest in peace. So people like that, it's, that resilience is so important.
As a Shia Muslim, what did you think of my book on the Houthis?
See, I haven't read it yet. This is the
Okay.
thing, right? I don't know if it's an audiobook version or not.
It is. It's on this channel as an audiobook. You can
Okay,
listen.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what it is that like I go through phases of watching political content then not consuming it. You know, because like I've been tuned into politics since I was like, I don't know, like 12 or 13. You know, I started watching Jimmy Dore. That's actually how I got into it.
Okay.
So yeah. And then I discovered you along the way when I was like 15 or 14.
Okay.
So then, you know, it kind of goes through that. And then I just went through phases of like just learning. And then sometimes you get like disassociated with politics. You get disappointed.
Yeah, like it's hard to stay on board. I mean, it just gets so demoralizing. I mean, lately it's just seeing all these people celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk and that becoming the conversation is, I mean, it's hard, right? I mean, it's like I'm on here, we have an open phone show or whatever, but it's, you know, I did my stream about it, and you know, and it's like my perspective is, yeah, I disagree with a lot of what he said, but you know, like, you know, and for me, it's particularly disturbing. I mean, when I saw all these people celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, like, I'm thinking like that could be me, right? And it's wild because I used to be one of these people. I used to be a leftist, but then all of a sudden my name got put on the list of bad people, and these people who didn't know anything about me, you know, and so I know how scary it is and what it's like to be canceled and all of that. And so just see these people just saying, oh, some guy died and he was wrong on the internet, so woohoo, great. I mean, it's like, yeah, like that's just not the way you should view things, you know?
No, like I used to really want to be, you know, make videos and stuff and get into the space. But I was like, man, it's too risky, man. You know, like, it's kind of tough. You know, thankfully I've started making some money, so I want to start financially contributing to organizations and stuff.
Okay.
But you know, like I want to try to do things like that. You know, it's tough, man. I really would like to make an impact, but it's you know, you know, that's the thing. It's like I don't want to take these type of risks that can hurt my family and stuff like that.
Right.
You know?
But you got to be careful nowadays. I mean, it's tough. Well, thanks for calling in, Ollie. You know, we appreciate having you on here, and I'm glad you're watching. It's always good to know there's a lot of people who watch this channel who I don't know about, and now I know about you.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I mean, you woke me up, you know, when I was like 14, 15, and I appreciate all you've done, you know.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you, and we're going to keep going, as tough as it might be. So thank you, Ollie. Yep. All right. Unanimous is still here. How you doing?
Yeah, you were saying that the Soviet economic bloc was very divorced from the Western bloc, and we were talking a bit about the Kosygin and Brezhnev era of like backing all these different movements, you know, working with Libya, working with North Korea and Cuba, like, but China. They don't do that, you know, like to some extent, you know, in ways I think a lot of people disagree with. Like they will have trade relations with a lot of people, and if you'll look at there was that parade last week, and that was after the SCO summit, right?
Right.
A lot of Central Asian countries did host U.S. military bases, and you know, Pakistan. That China does a lot of business with Pakistan. They've had a few. Pakistan is interesting because on the one hand, I've heard people in Pakistan post that the Pakistani army is very pro-United States. A lot of wealthier people are pro-United States, but a lot of the Pakistani weapons are Chinese. Like a lot of Chinese, you know, soldiers are training the Pakistani army.
Right.
And, you know, there's a guy in Pakistan who has like a party, Timer Rahman, and he's like, I don't know if you've heard of him, Timer Rahman.
No.
Really?
No, I don't follow.
He's like the Pakistan.
I obviously saw the coup against Imran Khan as being, you know, coming from the West because he was too friendly to Russia. You know, he was not.
Yeah, I think he came in opposing like all the drone strikes we were doing in Pakistan, which I'm like, why did anyone like the fact? Like to me, that's kind of like where China is stronger than the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union would have been a lot more militant against like that, like a government enabling US like such a high amount of U.S. military operations
Yeah.
in its country. Like if that happened to a pro-Soviet country, they probably would have just sent them weapons to fight the U.S.
Right.
But China doesn't, and the Chinese are also close with Cambodia. Cambodia is a monarchy.
Mhm.
But, it's interesting because the Cambodian king, you can see him giving an award to Kim Jong-il.
Yeah. Well,
But, Russia,
yeah.
too, I think, but Russia and Iran feel a little different. Like, you'll hear about how Putin, talks with all these different conservative European politicians.
Mhm.
But I don't think Putin believes some of the stuff these people say. Like, they'll say Islam is poison and whatnot. If
Mhm.
Putin believed that, Chechnya would basically be a nuclear testing site.
No, Putin is wildly popular in the Islamic regions. He's actually more popular in the Islamic regions of the Russian Federation than in, in the cities in St. Petersburg and in Moscow. You have a layer of rich kids who look at Western social media or whatever. And in the Islamic regions,
yeah, you see them all the time.
Yeah, but in the Islamic regions, you don't have that. And he has brought development. And Chechnya there was a lot of instability there when he first came into office. And now Chechnya is a very solid part, right? And the government there is, the local government is very pro, and that there's a lot of soldiers fighting in Ukraine from the Islamic regions, overwhelmingly. So it's just not, I've been over
But
there.
why is it that a lot of people try and link Putin to these groups? And there are some things that are kind of difficult to dispute, like Putin invited Marine Le Pen to Russia, and he was close with this.
Yeah, that's because the European far right are less. The campaign against Russia is Atlanticist. It's the United States and Britain leading the collective West against Russia, whereas France, Germany, these new right people are like, hey, what's in it for us? It's not in the interest of our domestic population. Right. That's what the issue is. Right. Is that the Germans have been royally screwed. The Germans, they used to make millions of dollars with products that came into the ports in northern Germany that would then get on trucks and go to Russia. And since the 2014 Euromaidan coup, they've lost all that money. All those dock workers have lost their jobs and all of that. And then they were going to start buying Russian natural gas. And then Biden blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. The Germans have to bring their natural gas all the way from America instead of right over from Russia, because they have a puppet government imposed on them. So these kind of the new right are like nationalists that are saying, look, going along with the hate Russia thing, because we're part of the NATO club, we're part of the globalist club. It's just not in our economic interest. Right. And that's the issue there. And part of that is the anti-immigration thing, is that if you can get into an EU country, then you can go anywhere in the EU. Right. So if these people get on a boat from North Africa and they go to Italy, and Italy takes them in, then they can come to Germany, they can come to France, they can come to Belgium. And a lot of these nationalists are like, well, we don't want to take in all these people. What is this about? So the anti-immigration thing and a kind of economic independence and why are we hating Russia? Because it's not in our economic interest. They kind of walk hand in hand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's the one instance where I can see Russia and China being, I guess, blatantly. Well, it's not blatant, but you know what I mean. It's where they're supporting an opposition figure, even though the support is not really there. It's just
they're not interfering in the elections to back those people up or anything.
Yeah, of course not.
They represent a layer of the governments in France and Germany and elsewhere that want a better relationship.
And a lot of countries that are ideologically opposed to each other, I guess to some extent, they have good relations. Funny thing is, people don't talk about this much nowadays, besides neocons, but Iran and North Korea, they do a fair bit of trading.
Yeah. They're very close. Yeah. And Iran and Venezuela also. Right. And that they have a different ideology, but they're anti-imperialist and they both view themselves as coming out of anti-colonial revolutions.
Yeah. Yeah. China, today it's mostly just what do you want out of your country? We don't care. Russia doesn't ask much out of any of its for frick's sake. They still have a base in Syria. They haven't been expelled from Syria yet.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's still a lot of goodwill there. China, they trade with a lot of Western adjacent monarchies in Southeast Asia.
Well, that's kind of the point in my book, which is interesting, is like Trotsky wanted the Soviet Union to be like on a mission to spread communism all over the world. And Stalin kind of believed that, but kind of not, right? And the neocons believe the United States should be on a mission to overthrow anti-imperialist government, right? And that is kind of the continuity, right? And that they kind of both view like kind of a global righteous crusade, and they kind of celebrate destruction.
Like, ironically, China does the least out of like all of the three big countries, Russia, China, and Iran, to like actively support alternative political fronts. Like, Iran does have a relationship with the Houthis, does have a relationship with Hezbollah.
Yeah,
and
the
different
Houthis are increasingly more pro-Russia and China too. They make statements, and they, and pro-North Korea and stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't get a lot of attention, but yeah.
I mean, and speaking of, like, you see, like, the world's coming together and identifying China as, their big economic partner. I didn't know if you watched CGTN the day of the big military parade, but they were talking about all the trade relationships China has with these countries.
Yeah.
And some of these are like countries I'm less familiar with,
Well,
Malaysia.
I want to throw this out there about the Houthis. My book is called Who Are the Houthis? What Are They Fighting For? And I've had a number of people say, why didn't you call it What is Ansar Allah? Because nobody in America knows what Ansar Allah is, right? It's the Houthis in American media, and this book is to introduce them, right? Anyone who already knows it's called Ansar Allah, they already know what they are, right? And I've had endless baiting. Why? Oh, the Houthis is a slur. How did you call it that? Because that's what the American people call them. Yes, I know they're called Ansar Allah, right? And I've had a number of people like tweet at me like, oh, you don't even know what their real name is. How could you write a book on it? I do know what their real name is. I talk about their real name in the book, but to the average American, they're known as the Houthis. And so if I'm going to write a book
in American media,
yeah,
I mean, to me, like, the fact that China is so integrated with all these countries around the world, it shows that the U.S. definitely is losing ground. And even among our own allies, you had 2 NATO members in Beijing that week. You had FICO, and you had Erdogan. I don't recall Orban being there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Orban was there. And I think you also had
that's for political reasons in Hungary, though. His narrative, he is like a nationalist, right? And that, he doesn't like celebrate, I think he feels that the Soviet Union's intervention in Hungary against the Nazis was like,
he came up as an anti-Soviet figure. I don't know why this isn't talked about enough by his detractors.
Yeah, he's just a nationalist, right?
No, but like he criticizes George Soros, but that's basically who funded him when he was coming to prominence.
Interesting.
Like, I don't know why people don't point it out. I guess that means the European, I guess, left is just weak and stupid, I guess.
Indeed. All right. Well, thank you, Unanimous. Always good to have you on. Cheers. I mean, if anyone else wants to join, folks are welcome to join. But, we do want to answer a couple super chat and Rumble Rant questions that came in. And there's also one last clip I wanted to show. So my friend, who I voted for in the 2008 election, Cynthia McKinney, she is in Russia, and she's in the Donbass region where the people are fighting against Ukraine. And she actually gave a statement from the Donbass. So here it is.
Names of kids being killed here. What do you think about it? How do you feel after knowing it's your impression?
Well, there are supposed to be laws governing the conduct of war, but those laws rarely are adhered to, which is why war is always a bad thing, and that diplomacy should strive to prevent war. But here, unfortunately, we have the results of what happens when you have reckless war with the objective of eliminating whole peoples. And that we call genocide. And that is what's happening in Gaza right now. And that is what happened here.
Yeah. And she is talking about the reality, right? That there was an effort to exterminate the peoples of the Donbass. This is a monument to all the children who were killed. They were trying to wipe out the peoples of the Donbass region, the Russian-speaking people in the Donbass. And so they declared independence, and Russia moved its forces in to protect them. I'm proud to know Cynthia McKinney. She was a great anti-imperialist in the U.S. Congress, and she's in Russia now. That's great. So Anway from India, how you doing?
How you doing? Hello.
Yeah, what's new?
How you doing? How's good?
I'm great. You know, I'm enjoying the August here. It's starting to be autumn here in the United States. And
so what's your thoughts on assassination?
Well, it's a horrible thing. I mean, Charlie Kirk was very much an anti-communist. Anti-communism was kind of the focus of his preaching, and I obviously don't agree with that. And he was critical of U.S. support to Ukraine, but he was also very pro-Israel, and so he's not somebody I agree with. But you look at that video of how he was killed, just a horrendous, brutal assassination, and to see all these people saying, "Well, he supported Trump, so he deserved it. He got what he deserved. He's racist." It's like, people, like, do you want to live in a country where that's what happens? It's horrifying. It's just absolutely horrifying, right and wrong do exist, and that, I don't want to live in a country where you get shot for your political beliefs. I just don't want to do that, So
I mean, it's a democratic country, you got to express your own views.
Yeah.
You got to have right to express your own views.
Right. And that, and then people point out that he said, violent things throughout his life. Okay, that's his right. And then also now there's an effort to get all the people who said or are celebrating his death fired from their jobs. I don't think they should be fired from their jobs. You can say something stupid on the internet. You're wrong. And I'm sickened that anyone would celebrate his death, but I don't think they should be fired from their jobs. And that this is the kind of politics. It's American politics is deteriorating into this red team versus blue team thing where everyone hates and wants to hurt other people. And it's not helpful. We're not talking about how to actually make the country better. We're just talking
about... It's kind of political crisis, I think it's the kind of political crisis.
Yeah.
The reason, what's the reason behind it? I mean, what's the basic reason behind it?
Well, that's a good question. The official story that we're getting now is the shooter had a transgender partner. Like, he lived with a transgender person, and he was very pro-transgender, and he was just very fired up against Charlie Kirk because he was pro-transgender. But a lot of people are questioning it. First of all, Gray Zone and a number of people have come out and said he was starting to change his opinion about Israel, and that Israel feared he was pivoting into the anti-Israel camp, and that maybe Israel removed him because they feared that, and that he apparently went to Trump and asked Trump to not bomb Iran. And Gray Zone and Candace Owens and others are saying he could have pushed the White House in a more anti-Israel direction. He was a really close friend of the president and the first family and all of that. And that maybe, as there's a fight within the administration, maybe that's what was going on. And there's other theories about what was going on. We don't really know. The official version is it was this man who lived with a transgender person and who confessed. He apparently confessed. He got on Discord and said, "I did it." But it's then that raises the question: if this guy was going to confess, why didn't he just turn himself in right at the scene? Why did he get the perfect shot, then go home and get on his computer and confess? That doesn't make any sense. Something's off, So I don't know. I don't know what to believe about it. I will say that was not an accidental. Usually when someone shoots somebody, they shoot once, twice, they shoot over and over and over again. It was one clean shot, and that was it. No more.
I think he's been trained for many years.
Yes.
He's been trained for many years.
Yeah, somebody who really knew what they were doing. And so that makes me wonder about it. So, yeah, I'm sickened by the whole situation. And, a lot of people have come to me and said, well, he said this, he said that. And it's like, I don't care what he said. And then people have said, well, he's a fascist, Caleb, not like you. And I said, well, lots of people on the internet think I'm a fascist, like that, you don't understand. All the communists in America think I'm a fascist. So, and they don't know the difference between me and him. So that goes to tell you. Yeah. So it's a really unhealthy time in American politics. And,
it's going around the part of the world, not only in the particular country. It's going around the part of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, tell me.
Go ahead. No, what were you saying? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the educational system, I mean, that's the main thing, degradation in education system. They don't want people to know the exact reality. I mean, they don't want you to culture the politics of the past or present for the future. I mean, if you culture materialism, if you contradict between socialism, communism, fascism, they want to kick you out.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the latest in India? I know Modi is the leader, and
there's clashes going on in Nepal. There's a news going on over here.
Right. Yeah. Well, Nepal, I mean, it looks like a color revolution, right? They're trying to remove Nepal from being in the China camp, right?
Yeah, I mean, people are vandalizing the streets, breaking every properties, I don't buy any kind of solution. I mean, you're not being led by any kind of good leader. You're not gonna get led by any kind of good political philosophy. You're not gonna find good leader. So ultimately, vandalization. Ultimately, it's kind of a terrorism. They will call it terrorism at last.
Yeah, it's Soros and the National Endowment for Democracy, and they've fomented kind of a movement because the Nepali government is,
Same story which happened in the Middle East.
Yeah, kind of like the Arab Spring, right? And look what happened. Yeah. Well, very good. Anything else you'd like to share with the audience tonight, Anway?
No, just talking about what's going to be the foreign policies of USA.
Yeah, well, I hope that the peace talks can continue. We are supporting Tulsi Gabbard as much as we can. Tulsi Gabbard has stripped of the security clearances a lot of neocons, and she is exposed that Russiagate was a hoax. She gave a very important speech a couple weeks ago, and I'm hoping that we can see more peace talks. We're going to have a national day of action on October 4th with protests around the country supporting the peace talks with Russia. Fingers crossed we can get something good out of this. Trump has disappointed me so far, but I can also tell he doesn't know what he's doing. He goes one way, he goes another way, so we'll see. So
best of luck. Yeah, sure.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, Anway.
Just hope for the best. Bye.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Okay. So why don't we, at this point, do our roll call where I call you all out as I see you, names and locations. Then we'll answer people's questions, and then we'll call it a night, right? Noah wants to get some sleep. He's got an early morning flight in the morning. I want to get some sleep because I've got a headache. And so names and locations, folks, names and locations. I will call you all out as I see you. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Who is with us? Anybody? Names and locations. Who is with us? Names and locations. We got Jake in Portland, Jenny in Cincinnati. Welcome, Jenny. Welcome, Jake. Jacob in Wisconsin. Gavin in Western Illinois. Kew Gardens. Checkpoint Charlie. I used to live in Kew Gardens, Queens. Little story. It's a neighborhood out in Queens. Names and locations. We got Penny in Minnesota. We got Rose hoping that the truth comes out. We got Ryan in Kansas City. We got Brad Briggs in Los Angeles. We got Alex in Brazil. We got Benson, North Carolina. Donnie Wallace. Gabby in Chicago. We got Huey in the South. We got Matteo in Italy. Names and locations, folks. Names and locations. Anybody else? Brooklyn in the house. Safe trip, Noah, and feel better, Caleb. So,
thanks, Phil.
Yeah, Noah says, thank you, Phil. St. David's, Bermuda. Welcome. Anybody else? Names and locations. I will call you all out as I see you. Who is with us tonight? John McCarthy in Chicago gave a great speech yesterday. I need to cut it. He gave a beautiful speech yesterday about the Foreign Agents Registration Act, about Uhuru. We need to get that speech on here. I actually meant to cut it today. It was something I didn't get to, but John gave an amazing presentation representing CPI at the Uhuru gathering. Shout out to you, John. It was great. And I think John and Ellie were at the recent Jimmy Dore show, distributing Houthi books. Anway in India. Welcome. Yeah, we got a lot of CPI. We're always doing stuff. We're always in motion. Right? That's what people don't get. If you want to have an organization, you got to be in motion, right? Action. It's about momentum, right? And so we're getting the Houthi books out. We're having a national day of action. Mark your calendar for January 11th. We are having an event in New Jersey, in the lovely state of New Jersey. Noah and I just went there. We're not saying where it is, but we found the beautiful location. It's a beautiful, beautiful secret, undisclosed location of where our great event on January 11th, our New Year's celebration, is going to be. So keep that in mind. Hopefully soon we will have the Eventbrite made and you can start registering. January 11th, it's going to be absolutely tremendous. Good food, good music, good speeches, good everything. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be tremendous. We got George Muniz in Sydney, Australia. Good to see you, George. Good to see you. Good to see you, George. Anybody else? Names and locations. Names and locations. Now, I wanted to remind you all that if you have something to ask me, there are 3 ways to send your questions. You can do Rumble Rants, and we've got 2 Rumble Rants that have been set. I'm going to be answering them both. You can also Cash App me, Caleb Maupin 22, if there's something you'd like me to talk about. And there's one more way, which is the best way to do it. Buy me a coffee. Buy me a coffee is the best. Go to buymeacoffee/Caleb Maupin. You can be anonymous if you want, and it's beautiful. It's a great way to send your question. So send me a question. Send me a question. So there you go. Send me a question. And it is not in Jersey City. You guessed the wrong location. It's not in Jersey City, not right off Journal Square, RL. You are wrong. You are wrong. If you go there on January 11th, hoping to disturb our event, you will go to the wrong place because that's not where it's going to be. So
It's actually the Batcave.
Yeah, he said the Batcave. I thought you were going to say where it was. I was like going to stop you. No, it's actually the Batcave, right? That's where the Batcave of Batman and Robin is. But Baruz in Boston, Boston is there. No, I'm sorry. No, it's okay. It's okay. You're just going to not go there. I know the hotel you're referring to. People used to jokingly call that the ML Hotel. That's where Workers World had some events and stuff. That's not where we're doing it. But good guess, though, right? Good guess. You know, I used to be in Workers World. You know, Workers World used to do things there, but that's not where we're going. No. Not going anywhere near that place. Not going anywhere near. I would never disturb the event. I support you. I hope you register for the event and attend, right? You have to register and attend. I know, RL, you're fine. But you have to register and attend. Please put the telephone number. Yeah, I'm going to put the telephone number of the place. All right. Yeah. Go. Oh, okay. I'll put the telephone number of the venue. Yeah. You could call them up and tell them not to have me. But no, I'm just kidding. You know, I don't know you, Baruz. Your name sounds Armenian. Baruz Almasyan, right? That
Could be Iranian too.
Iranian, that's true. It could be Iranian, right? IAN tends to be an Armenian last name, but it could be Iranian, right? Or someone of Armenian descent in another country, right? So yeah, there you go. But yeah, so if you've got a question, you can send the question one of 3 ways: Rumble Rants, Cash App, Caleb Maupin 22, or buy me a coffee. And the best way to do it is buy me a coffee. And Baruz is Iranian. He made clear he is Iranian. And New Jersey is the state. We were going to go to the old Jersey, but they were not available. You know, we were thinking about doing the event in C Caucus. And the reason we were thinking about doing it in C Caucus is we looked to have the event in the A Caucus. It wasn't available. And the B Caucus was not available. There was an opening in C Caucus, but we're still not going to have it in C Caucus either. C Caucus is a town in New Jersey, mind you. I've made that joke for years. I love it. I think it's funny.
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
The A Caucus and the B Caucus, but there's always C Caucus. Right, you know, so yeah, no, there was a Walmart in C Caucus that twice I went to it and protested at Walmart on Black Friday. I was showing you the pictures. That's why I'm thinking about C Caucus, right? You know, Checkpoint Charlie loves my jokes about C Caucus.
There you go.
Right, so there you go. Ellie in Chicago. We are the Land Caucus. Gavin says we're not the Sea Caucus, we're the Land Caucus, fighting the Atlanticist pathology. That's a good way of putting it, right? Right.
Yeah, it's a telluric hotel.
Right. A telluric hotel. Right. There we go. Right. Oh, Ellie in Chicago. We love you, Ellie. You're a beloved member of our organization, always doing great work and outreach and always bringing great insights and working with your students. It's really, really great. So, yeah. I meant, how can I talk to you now? Oh, Baruz, if you want to join the stream right now, you just have to follow the link, right? You just have to follow the link. You can join the stream, and we have a link to join the stream, right? So there we go. Join the stream. You just click that link. You have to have your webcam in order to bring you on. I can bring you on, Baruz, if you want to come on. I went to Trump's casino in Atlantic City. Wow. Well, Gabby, gambling is a sin. We do not promote that here. It goes against the teachings of most major religions. So shame on you. I'm just kidding. I've been to Atlantic City before. I didn't gamble. I've never gambled, but I have been to Atlantic City. The Taj Mahal Casino was set up by Trump. Yeah, Atlantic City is nice. There's when my wife and I were first married, we went to Atlantic City. There's a picture of my wife holding like a stuffed giraffe that we won from wasn't gambling, but it's like from a what do you call that? Carnival game or whatever. So yeah, that was fun. Atlantic City, yeah, it's in New Jersey. It's I will say outside of like the fancy part, it's pretty run down. I will say once you get out of like the fancy part of Atlantic City, it's like woo.
Yeah, it's how like all the casino cities tend to be. That's how Vegas is, from what I hear. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just kind of like there's this place where the tourists are, and then there's where all the servants live, and the servants, it tends to be kind of run down. That's how a lot of third world countries are too.
That's true.
Yeah.
I will say the buffets in Atlantic City. That's one thing I really, really liked.
You're a fan of a good buffet.
I am. I really like buffets, and that a lot of those like casino restaurant places, there was like buffets you could eat at, and those buffets were really great. I think they make them cheap because they expect you're going to come eat at the buffet and gamble while you do it. I didn't gamble. I just ate at the buffet, so that was pretty cool. So yeah. We had a motel and I was scared we weren't going to get out alive. So Gabby had a similar experience. Once you get out of the like tourist area, it's like spooky. It's like, where am I? So there we go. All right, cool. So if you have a question, there are 3 ways to send your question. Rumble Rants, Caleb Moppin 22 on Cash App, or you can buy me a coffee. Those are the 3 ways to send your questions. Send your questions now. This is going to be your last chance. So we got a couple Rumble Rants to answer. I don't see any other questions that have come in. First one is from McSaddy Obama. He says, thoughts on the current situation in Nepal. Has a kind of Zoomer nihilism destroyed the revolution and its accomplishments? Well, it looks like Nepal was trying to regulate social media companies. They were not cooperating with the government of Nepal. And because of that, they banned the social media outlets, and then the people of Nepal, they revolted. But not the people. It was kind of like the younger people who use social media. And it looks like they've installed, it looks like a pro-Western government. It looks like, it looks like a, what do you call it? Like a color revolution, basically, like a coup. That's kind of what it looks like to me. I mean, I think it's to get the USA out of or to get Nepal into the US camp, out of the China camp. There's been a power struggle over Nepal between India and China for a long time. So I suspect India is probably, along with the US, moving against China. There probably is great frustration among the young people of Nepal that the Communist Party has not been able to deliver, right? The king stepped down, and the Communist Party of Nepal is very big and popular, but at the same time, they're not moving the country towards socialism. There is Chinese investment. So yeah, I view events in Nepal as pretty negative. It reminds me of just color revolutions. And as always happens with color revolutions, they latch on to issues that are like corruption is a big problem in Nepal, poverty, underdevelopment, but are they going to make it better? No, they're not. That's my feeling about the Nepal situation. Now, Penny says, Forum of United Cultures. Putin stressed world harmony through diversity and innovation, preserving cultural heritage passed down through families. That sounds like our Russian president. The Russian president, he often talks about the need to overturn colonialism and imperialism, and he also talks about traditional values, and that seems to be what Russia emphasizes. All right, Checkpoint Charlie, how you doing?
Oh, how you doing, guys? Just a quick question for you. So I was watching Jimmy Dore today. The guys from Do Dissidents were guest hosting.
Yeah.
And the last segment was about Sudan, what's going on over there, and it's just horrific. I don't know if you could add anything to that. Like, what do you know about that? It's incredible.
I don't know about the latest developments. I mean, Sudan is an oil-rich country in Africa. It has kind of an Islamic government that is selling oil to China and has been kind of anti-imperialist. And so Israel broke South Sudan away from it, and they fomented war. And there's like an ethnic war between Muslims and Christians going on in Sudan. And the Muslims are the majority, and they have the government, and the Israelis support the Christians. The United States government supports the Christians. When I was in college, all the synagogues were promoting Save Darfur. right? And Darfur is a region in Sudan that's contested, where there's like a civil war going on. And it's just become kind of the trendy liberal cause. It was a trendy liberal cause, George Clooney and all of that. Was the idea that the Christians, the Christian minority is oppressed by the Muslim majority, and it's about getting the USA in there. I remember the first major protest I went to in New York City. I was 18. I had not yet graduated high school. I was about to graduate high school. I went to New York City, and there was a big demonstration against the Iraq War. And George Soros people, MoveOn.org, which is George Soros, they had thousands of signs, thousands of people just handing signs to people. They were just handing to people that said, "Out of Iraq into Darfur." They wanted the USA to send troops in to invade Sudan. And that was George Soros' intervention there. And it's just, Sudan is contested. South Sudan is basically an Israeli colony. It's the Israeli military that runs South Sudan that already broke away. But the Darfur region is still contested, and that Sudan is viewed as a part of the African continent that's not under Western dominion. But is there a latest news development in Sudan? Like, there's new developments, or what's the latest? What were they talking about?
Oh, just the sheer madness. What can I say? Millions of people starving and dying and being tortured. Whoever's in control of some areas, they're not allowing anybody in to help. Rape, you name it. Just as horrendous as the Palestine situation is, this seems to be, if possible, even worse.
Oh.
And it's not really being talked about.
Oh, maybe I should look into that. If there's been new developments. I mean, the Sudan conflict has been going on for quite some time. And I know it's been it was kind of a Zionist cause for a long time, Save Darfur and such, but maybe this is a new development. That's interesting. The due dissidence guys are great. They are great, and they really liked my Kamala Harris book a lot, and so, it's interesting. I take them seriously, and I think they know what they're talking about. So I'll have to go watch the segment. I know it was the Door Show that was new. So yeah, anything else on your mind tonight?
No, that's it. It was the last segment. It was a short segment on moved to Rumble, on the Rumble side.
Okay.
So it wasn't on the YouTube. Yeah. So
All right,
I don't know. It's because it's the Jimmy Dore show. I don't know exactly. They're the ones who will post it.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming on. I hope everything's good out in Kew Gardens. I lived out in Kew Gardens years ago. Good sushi places in Kew Gardens.
Oh.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Isn't there good sushi?
I don't eat that. I'm pretty much vegan.
Ah, okay, yeah. And there's Orthodox Jews out there, right?
Oh yeah, they're right here, pretty much next door. Yes.
No, I when I lived in Kew Gardens, I was telling my friend about this the other day. An Orthodox Jew knocked on my door, and he wanted me to donate money to help men from the former Soviet Union get circumcised. I guess they had a charity to help circumcise men in the former Soviet Union. I thought that was hilarious, right? Because I guess the Soviet government outlawed circumcision. And so this Orthodox Jew, he had a calendar about all the circumcisions they're doing, and help donate to help us get men in Eastern Europe circumcised. I was just like, okay, I'm not going to help you with that.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think the Lubavitchers, which are a sect of Orthodox Jews, I think they're big in Kew Gardens, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or no? The Lubavitch, Rabbi Schneerson, right?
I don't know the details at all, but yes, they're right. There's a school right here, a block away. They have two buildings, and they run back and forth all day, all night. I don't know how it works, but it's funny to see them constantly running back and forth between the two buildings.
Oh, interesting. Well, there you go. Well, my best to you, Checkpoint Charlie. Be in touch.
Thank you. Take care. I hope to be able to meet you in January. I guess that's when I'll.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, or reach out if you want to be involved. You want to meet me sooner than that. Be in touch. All right.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah. Very, very good. That's good. Checkpoint Charlie is a regular now, a member of our New York local audience. We have another a Cash App that came from Gabby. And so Gabby, she sent her question on Cash App, and then she says, in the aftermath of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, what kinds of political and governmental responses are likely? Could this incident be interpreted as part of a broader struggle between nationalist business-oriented factions, such as the Trump-aligned wing focused on wealth and domestic industry, and a globalist or imperialist forces, rather than being treated as an isolated act of violence? I think it very well could be interpreted that way. If we are to assume that this was carried out by the Trump administration's enemies, it would make sense that Trump's enemies tend to be the more globalist-oriented faction, that Charlie Kirk and Trump were more tied to smaller businesses, etc. However, the reason that I have been focused on, I feel like there's a fight within the administration. Obviously, the administration has its enemies, the Democrat Party and all that. But then there's Marco Rubio and there's Tulsi Gabbard. And I've been paying attention to more forces within the administration that are battling each other. But yes, obviously the celebration of it and the idea that it was okay to kill him because he's a Trump supporter, that comes from the globalists, that comes from the liberal bourgeoisie, that comes from the Malthusians and all of that. And that is who the communist groups all work for. It's just sad. These communist groups have nothing anti-imperialist about them at all. I guess they're for Palestine. That's an anti-imperialist cause. But even that, they're kind of helping that be co-opted away from Iran. They're trying to, make support for the Houthis, make support for Iran not visible within the Palestine movement, and just kind of make that PSL put on an event in Detroit that was basically just a Muslim Brotherhood DSA propaganda show with PSL people doing the work for free. So, even that, even as they're pro-Palestine, they're just kind of trying to help U.S. imperialism look like it has room for pro-Palestine people. Most of the communist groups at this point, they just work for the ultra rich in their effort to kick the crap out of the domestic lower levels of capital. And that's one way of interpreting it. Yeah, I generally have been looking at this in terms of the neocons and Charlie Kirk was not an elected official. And that's what we need to remember, right? Presidents in American history, like Kennedy, like Lincoln, have been shot. What's his name? Charlie Kirk was not an elected official. He was a politician, or he was an activist. He was a social media personality, and he was killed, but he was somebody who had a lot of influence. And if he was starting to shift, and if he had the influence to go and tell Trump not to bomb Iran and stuff like that, it's very possible that it was the people that are closer to Marco Rubio that want Trump to be more hawkish and more pro-Israel that are pushing him, to do that. That's generally been the focus that I've given, and I've seen this as in the context of the struggle within the administration. But the people cheering for it and saying if anyone supports Trump, it's okay to cheer for them dying, that's the globalists, that's the ultra rich faction, right? So yeah, Arsenal says seems to be a showcase hit, sending a message. It is displaying the sickness of American culture to the world. I will say that. We look really bad to the world. We look like a really sick country right now, where a 31-year-old man is speaking before a group of college students and someone shoots him in the neck, and half the country, and it's not really half the country, it's a very, very vocal and visible minority, goes, woohoo, we disagreed with him. Yeah, that's sick. We just don't look like a healthy country, to be fair, right? Again, kind of like Terry said, right? There are examples of where a woman gets raped by migrants and she's a Democrat and they're like, oh, she voted for this. That's pretty sick and fucked up. You shouldn't belittle other people's suffering, right? You generally shouldn't wish ill will or celebrate hardships that other people go through. I'm into Wallace Wattles. Go listen to Wallace Wattles. What I want for myself, I want for everyone, right? I think he says every man, but I want it for every woman also. So there you go. Yeah, and we're just, the insanity is on display. And again, I will repeat myself because I come out of communism and all of that. Why has no communist group come out and said, we don't agree with assassinations? They're so captured by woke people, right? It was routine. If something like this had happened 10 years ago, all the communist groups would have put out a statement saying, we don't endorse assassinations as a method. We need a mass movement, etc. But none of the communist groups will do that because they're so desperate to appease the woke people, and they're so afraid that some 20-year-old who they want to recruit won't join them because they said killing Charlie Kirk wasn't cool. That's not. I mean, it's the communist groups have just become completely captured by the political establishment in America, and that is totally fucked. So yeah, that's my thoughts there. And it doesn't seem that there are any further questions. So on that note, we're about to hit the 2-hour mark. Noah's got some sleeping to do. I've got some sleeping to do. It's a late night. Thank you to everyone who sent a question and everyone who came on the stream. You know, it's awesome. We have a great community here. I assume I'll be back tomorrow night. Don't know why I wouldn't be, but you know, things happen. Sometimes I'm not feeling up for it or whatever. So tune in tomorrow night or the next time. I'm premiering tomorrow the slideshow of my, from that I did about Charlie Kirk. That's going to premiere tomorrow on the channel. It's kind of a standalone video at 10 a.m. So you can watch that again. And yeah, we're doing great stuff, folks. Join the Center for Political Innovation. We've got a big day of action coming up on October 4th. Dare to struggle, dare to win. I'm going to put on the closing music. It's been fun, and we'll be back. We'll be back soon. So, yeah, join CPI, buy one of our books, get involved, dare to struggle, dare to win. New upsurge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression. But the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. And while the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today. Okay, and